All civilizations ignored them, until Terrans chose to defend them. The Galactic Council had existed for 3,000 cycles. And in all that time, the representatives had learned one immutable truth. Some species were simply beneath notice. The Valak were such a species. They inhabited a small cluster of worlds on the far edge of the Orion Arm, peaceful to the point of pacifism, technologically stunted, and diplomatically invisible. When the Valak delegation had first appeared before the council chambers decades ago, their request for membership had been denied without discussion. They possessed no resources worth claiming, no military strength worth respecting, and no cultural achievements worth preserving. The council forgot about them almost immediately. Commander James Rook had not forgotten. He stood on the bridge of the TSS Valiant, studying the data streaming across his tactical display. The information painted a grim picture. 17 Cran warships had entered Valak space 4 hours ago and had begun systematic bombardment of the outer colonies. Already, 3 settlements had gone silent. The Cran were raiders, opportunists who preyed on the weak. They had ignored the Valak for years because there was nothing to steal. Now, with their own territory squeezed by stronger neighbors, they had decided that even worthless worlds could be stripped for basic resources. "Sir, we're receiving distress signals from the 4th planet," reported Lieutenant Maria Cross from Communications. "They're requesting immediate assistance from anyone who can hear them." "Did they specify us?" "No, sir. It's a general broadcast. They don't seem to know we're here." Rook nodded slowly. The Valiant had been on a routine patrol, mapping this region of space that most civilizations considered too remote to matter. Technically, they were outside Terran-protected space. Technically, the Valak weren't allies or even acquaintances. Technically, this wasn't their problem. How long until the Cran reached the core worlds? He asked. "At their current pace, 16 hours, answered his tactical officer, Lieutenant Tom Park. "And how long would it take Council peacekeepers to arrive if we requested assistance?" Park checked his console. "Nearest Council fleet is 48 hours away, assuming they authorize deployment immediately. Historical data suggests actual authorization would take 70 to 90 hours minimum. The Valak would be extinct long before help arrived from official channels." Rook walked to the viewport and stared at the distant stars. He had joined the Terran Space Navy 20 years ago, fresh from the academy and full of idealistic notions about humanity's place among the stars. The galaxy had taught him harsh lessons since then. Earth was considered a newcomer, barely 2 centuries into interstellar travel. The older civilizations treated humans with thinly veiled contempt, useful as mercenaries and traders, but never as equals. The Council had denied Earth's membership application 4 times. "Sir?" Cross was waiting for orders. Every officer on the bridge knew what was at stake. Engaging the Cran without authorization would create a diplomatic incident. The Council frowned upon unsanctioned military actions, even against raiders. Earth needed the Council's goodwill to expand its commercial treaties and secure its borders. But Rook had not joined the Navy to make politically convenient decisions. "Battle stations," he ordered quietly. "Helm, plot an intercept course for the Cran fleet. Maximum speed." The bridge erupted into controlled chaos as his crew scrambled to their posts. Weapons systems came online, shields powered up, and the Valiant's engines thrummed with sudden urgency. "Sir, should I notify command?" "Ask Cross. After we engage. No point asking permission we won't receive." The Valiant was a frigate, fast and well armed, but hardly a match for 17 warships. Rook wasn't planning to fight them all at once. He was counting on the Cran's arrogance and their tendency to spread out during raids to maximize plunder. 6 hours later, they found their first target. The Cran destroyer hung in low orbit above a burning Valak colony. its cargo holds open as shuttles ferried resources up from the surface. The settlement below was already ruined, its structures collapsed, and fires visible even from space. Single ship, as expected, Park reported. She's big, probably twice our mass, but focused on the planet. I don't think they've spotted us yet. Good. Target their engines and weapons. I want them disabled, not destroyed. Aye, sir? The Valiant swept in like a predator, its railguns spitting tungsten slugs and relativistic speeds. The first salvo caught the Cran ship completely unprepared, tearing through its aft shields and crippling both main engines. The destroyer began to list, alarms surely screaming through its corridors. Before the Cran could respond, the Valiant's missile tubes launched a full spread. 8 warheads streaked across the void and slammed into the destroyer's weapon ports, reducing them to twisted metal. Target is disabled, Park announced with satisfaction. Move to the next coordinates. They'll have heard that. We need to hit as many as possible before they regroup. For the next 9 hours, the Valiant played a deadly game of hit and run. They ambushed isolated Cran ships, crippled them, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Rook pushed his crew hard, knowing that exhaustion was preferable to extinction for the Valak. By the time the Cran warlord gathered his remaining ships into a defensive formation, 8 of his vessels were drifting hulks, and his invasion had ground to a halt. The Valak had noticed. Suddenly, the general distress calls changed. They were addressing the Terrans directly, thanking them, pleading with them to continue. Sir, we're being hailed by the Cran flagship, Cross reported. Put them through. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a reptilian face covered in ceremonial scars. The Cran warlord's eyes burned with rage. You dare interfere with our rightful claim? The warlord hissed. These worlds are undefended and unprotected by any treaty. You have no authority here, human. Neither do you, Rook replied calmly. Leave now, or I'll disable the rest of your fleet. The warlord's laugh was an ugly sound. 1 small ship against 9? You've won nothing. We'll crush you and finish what we started. Then come and try. The channel cut off. Sir, they're forming up for attack, Park warned. All 9 remaining ships are moving toward us in formation. We can't fight them all. Rook knew this. His ship was damaged from 9 hours of continuous combat. His crew was exhausted, and his ammunition stores were running low. The smart move would be to retreat, to have fought long enough to save some Valak lives and claim a moral victory. But retreat meant abandoning the Valak to eventual destruction. Hold position, he ordered. Sir, with respect, we can't win this fight, Park insisted. Then we'll make them pay for their victory. The 9 Cran warships advanced in a broad formation, their weapons charging for a devastating first strike. On the bridge of the Valiant, every officer understood they were watching their final minutes tick away. Then Lieutenant Cross gasped. Sir, new contacts emerging from hyperspace. Multiple ships, Terran signatures. Rook spun toward the display. 6 frigates identical to the Valiant dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Their weapons already hot dot. This is Captain Ellen Rice of the TSS Defiant. A voice crackled over communications. Heard you could use some backup, Commander. Rook felt something unfamiliar. Hope. Good timing, Captain. We were in the neighboring sector when your initial report reached command. They're having a heart attack back home, but we figured we'd sort out the paperwork later. 7 Terran frigates against 9 Cran warships was still long odds, but it was no longer impossible. The battle that followed would be analyzed in military academies for decades. The Terrans fought with a ferocity that shocked the Cran, refusing to yield even when damaged, covering each other with overlapping fields of fire. The Cran had expected an easy victory over exhausted prey. Instead, they found themselves in a knife fight with opponents who seemed to consider retreat a foreign concept. When the last Kran ship finally broke formation and fled into hyperspace, 4 remained behind as spreading debris clouds. The Valak worlds had been saved. Commander Rook stood in the council chambers 3 weeks later, facing a tribunal of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. The charges were serious: unauthorized military action, violation of sovereignty, disruption of regional stability. The Valak stood beside him as witnesses. The council must maintain order. The High Arbiter intoned. Individual species cannot be permitted to act unilaterally in military matters. Your actions, while perhaps well-intentioned, violated established protocols. With respect, Rook replied, your protocols would have allowed genocide. The Kran were not engaged in legitimate warfare. They were exterminating a peaceful species, and the Council chose to do nothing. The Council chooses which conflicts merit intervention based on strategic considerations you cannot understand. Then perhaps your strategic considerations need revision. The chamber erupted in outrage. No one spoke to the High Arbiter that way. The Valak ambassador stepped forward, his voice quiet but firm. For 3,000 cycles, we have watched civilizations rise and fall in this chamber. We have seen the mighty make alliances and the powerful make war. We were told we did not matter because we had nothing to offer. Perhaps that is true. But the Terrans did not ask what we could offer. They asked only what was right.